What's up? Welcome into this Monday edition of Pushing the Pile, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. We are so grateful to have the one, the only Matt Ryan joining us yet again, and we're thankful because we had some quarterback performances over the weekend that we wanted to break down in depth, so we got you for a while here today. And none more important to their fan base than Drake Maye, the number 3 overall pick of the New England Patriots, making his NFL starting debut. What did you see from Maye, and how should Patriots fans feel after his first start against the Texans?
Well, I'll start with how they should feel. I think they should feel pretty good. You know, I think when you watch him play yesterday, I think two things were evident. Number one, he's got good mobility, right? And, moved around really well. I thought extended plays from the pocket, kind of either subtly or escaping the pocket, keeping his eyes down the field and making some throws to me that were impressive. And then, number two, he can push the ball down the field. Obviously the go route that they hit for the touchdown was beautiful. I mean, perfect throw, good location, good recognition of single high coverage, safety moving the other way. It's the green light to throw that football with some touch down the field. So I thought that was impressive. And then on top of it, I loved his toughness. I thought he hung in there. To me, it looked like he settled in the more he got hit. And I think that from a young player, seeing that early on, I think is really impressive. And I was kind of saying on our show yesterday, I disagreed with the timing of when they did this because, number one, I thought that the team around him hadn't changed from week one when they made the decision to go with Jacoby Brissett. And so, to me, I didn't kind of understand week 6. If you want to sit him and kind of let him develop for 2 or 3 months. But I thought he came out and he made the team better. He really did. And that's hats off to Drake Maye. I think Patriots fans should be optimistic. The issue is they just don't have that many guys that can separate. And that is the thing that you see as you watch the tape. So I thought he played well. I thought he played tough. I thought he made some really good throws. But it's going to be tough sledding because they don't have guys that separate versus man-to-man coverage.
Matt, I obviously get to watch you every Sunday on NFL Today. You do a great job, and you just alluded to the fact that you did make the comment yesterday in the short amount of time you got to talk about it. You said, look, I didn't agree with the decision, but he went out there and played. And the thing that stood out to me in your comments were they're driving the football down the field. I know you just talked about it again. What does that do for the confidence of an OC when you say, okay, my guy can see what they're giving us on the back end, and he's able to deliver the ball down the field? How can we see this offense progress with Drake Maye under center?
Yeah, I think I think you saw Alex Van Pelt as that game went on start to get a feel for what he was capable of, right? It's one thing to see it in practice. The game is a completely different thing. And so, I think early on, like even his first third down play, right? He airmails that thing over the head on third down, out of bounds. Kind of looked like, okay, I'm in here, I'm in the pocket. Let me just get it out of my hand and let it rip. And then he throws the pick kind of early in that game too, where it sails, it's a little bit high, overthrown, and kind of right into the defender's hand. But I think then you saw a little bit later, okay, I'm going to move a little bit. I'm going to find the checkdowns. I'm going to hang in there. There was a third down in the second quarter where he slid a little bit, found the little crossing route, dumped it out, they convert. There was a flat route that he threw later in the game where he hung in that pocket, slid left, and then had the presence of mind to find a flat that was wide open way to the right. And to me, I think those are the things as a coordinator you see, okay, all right, I can start to open up the play calls here a little bit. And from there, I think you saw them start to push the ball down the field a little bit more. And I think that's something that is only going to improve for them as they get going. It's going to be tough sledding. Like I said, they don't create a ton of separation. But I really think, looking at it now, if he can survive, right, he's going to learn to throw into tight windows. And that is what you have to do in this league. You've got to have excellent ball placement and throw guys open and use leverage of defenders, and body position to get completions. And he's going to have to do that. And I think he's going to get better at it as the season goes on.
It's definitely something I think we saw on his tape at North Carolina that it is his very first NFL start. And I do think his accuracy, if there's anything that I point to and be like, that was probably an issue. Is he missed a number of throws that he probably wants back. Finishes 20 of 33, 243 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. I'm going to put you on the spot. What grade would you give his very first performance here?
Well, I think you grade it on a scale, right? I'd be an easy grader. I'd grade everything on a scale. But,
I like you as a coach.
I think, when I needed it. When I was going through school, I needed the scale, man. So, I look at it as first start, very good defense that you're going against. You turn the football over a couple of times. One, not really his fault. The fumble, I think, that's something he'll clean up. I say B, B, right around there. I think it's fairly solid. The thing that I think takes it from maybe a C+ to a B is the fact that I thought his footwork improved as the game went on. And I think that is something that is very, very underrated, right? And you don't see that from a lot of young players. And I think, to me, that spoke to, number one, his brain started to calm down, right? And you go back to your training and you get in the timing of plays. And I thought he did a very, very good job of that, as the game continued to progress. And so for me, it's a B.
And I got to say this for the Patriots team. I know how important it is to have a guy in there that makes you feel like you have a chance. And people are quick to rag on this offensive line. And they haven't been a star-studded cast this year. But you get a guy like Drake May in there, and the level of play, the level of intensity, and the level of belief seems to go up a little bit. I'm excited to see this, and I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed Drake May's first performance as well.
Yeah, one last thing to know, and then we'll move on to some other rookie quarterbacks that I wanted to highlight on the show this morning. Late in that game, sets up to a flat route, sees cover 2, Derek Stingley. He sets him up, gets Derek Stingley to commit underneath, hits the hole shot right behind him.
Something that
pump is just, a lot of rookies, I think, come in the league and kind of throw routes as they see them on paper and think, throw it, see it, throw it. That's a guy setting up his man to go make a play. Another guy who's setting up his receivers to make plays.
He gave him the tiny Troy, the little head and shoulders, man.
Yeah,
just a little bit, and then drive that behind.
That's Derek Stingley.
So my older brother used to do to me across the back seat. He'd be like, "I'm gonna bet you, dude."
Another guy in this rookie quarterback class that we have to get to, Caleb Williams, number 1 overall pick. Such a slow start to this year, but it seems like since week 3 on, every single game has been better than the one before. And this one, 23 of 29, 226 yards, 4 tutties, 1 pick, 124.4 pass rating. First Bears rookie quarterback with 4+ pass touchdowns in a game since. Kyle, you got this one?
Mitch Trubisky?
Cade McNown in 1999. Matt, what did you see from him in this, and have you seen from him throughout the course of the season and his growth so far?
Yeah, so this kind of goes to what we were just talking about. Like, I think letting the guy go from the start, right, and the growth that you're going to see as the year goes on. I think, if you would have graded Caleb out in the first 2 weeks, I don't think he's getting a B. I think the grade is probably much lower, but you've seen a guy start to settle in. I think you see a guy that the confidence is building. I think Shane Waldron, I think Shane Waldron is getting a much better feel for who Caleb is as a player and how he processes and how he sees. And I think he's been patient. They probably put a little bit too much on him at the beginning, but I think in doing that, they found what works and where he can operate his best. I think his accuracy down the field is much improved in the last 3 weeks than it was at the beginning of the season. And I also think his timing, right? The ball coming out of his hands on time is so much better than it was earlier in the season. So I think he's seeing it better. I think he's more decisive. I think he's more accurate. And I think that speaks to him being much more comfortable 6 weeks into the season than he was week 1.
Yeah, I mean, he does look so much more comfortable now, Matt, to your point. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you brought up Shane Waldron. And that, you know how important that OC is to the relationship and the success of these quarterbacks. One thing that I've seen this Bears team do is have a commitment to protecting Caleb. Also, having more of a smash mouth approach in the run game. It's opened things up for Caleb Williams. The offensive line, admittedly, they were not very good at the beginning of the year. They've switched some things up. They've got Matt Pryor in there at right guard, former Colt. Now, with Darnell Wright. Huge guys on the right side. It's such a confidence boost to a quarterback when you know that your team can run the football a little bit too, Matt, I would imagine.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, it makes such a difference, when you're playing from in front of the chains, right? And so if you can get 3-4 yards on first down and you're 2nd and 6 or less, to me that just it keeps the defense on its toes, right? They're not just pinning their ears back and rushing, which makes your life as an offensive lineman so much easier. And I think the other thing is too, like Caleb getting more comfortable under center with some of what they're doing, right? That's a challenge, for guys coming from systems where they play primarily in the gun, right? And so there's a rhythm, there's a timing to your drops, there's a rhythm to turning your back, right, in play action, where I think he's getting better. They had the little double screen that was from the gun the other day, where he pumps left, goes back right. They've got a free runner. He kind of climbs up, finds Colt Kmet down the middle for the touchdown. So, to me, it's a combination of all those things. I think scheming it up, finding the right combination of guys up front, him getting more comfortable under center, all of those things are benefiting their offensive line.
Yeah, the comfort level is it's so obvious right now with him. Compared, just weeks 1 and 2. Even when things are breaking down, you see a more comfortable guy. Whereas like early in the season, the sort of second reaction plays he was known for at USC, he was sailing balls. That thing was flying out of a t-shirt cannon, coming out of his hand. You didn't know where it was going. Now it's like when things break down or when he scrambles outside the pocket, you're legitimately scared if you're a defense, not only as a runner, but he is hitting guys on the move, which you see the tools, man, that he has top of the NFL sort of arm talent, mobility that just you can build whatever you want around this guy.
And I want to say this about Caleb Williams, too. He has the luxury of, obviously, a lot of people said this is the best situation for a number 1 pick going into the NFL. And they talked about the receiving core and the running backs and all this stuff. I want to talk about how damn good that defense has been and the impact it has on a quarterback, the pressure that it takes off of Caleb Williams, knowing that they do actually have complementary football, Matt.
It's huge. I mean, when you can rely on guys on the other side of the ball to get stops, it kind of takes the pressure off of being perfect, right? And when you don't feel like you have to be perfect, you then end up settling in and just playing the way you're capable of playing. So I think that's incredibly, underrated. And the other thing I think that's important too is for young players, when you've got a defense like that, there's this hard realization when you're a top pick, right? I was the 3rd overall pick, and you come in and your whole life you've been the best player on the field, at every level you've been a part of. And then all of a sudden, maybe you're not, maybe you're not every week the best guy. There's, you might not be head and shoulders better than everybody you're going against. And being okay with that, right? And knowing you've got guys on the other side of the ball that can step up and make plays if we're struggling. I think that's a massive thing for young players to realize. So I think it's been beneficial for them for sure.
Let's pivot from quarterbacks to some wide receivers, specifically Calvin Ridley, who, as the de facto number 1 after the contract they gave him in Tennessee, is not living up to it. The past 3 games, 14 targets, 14 yards this past week, 8 targets, not a single catch, and he ain't happy about it. You heard him talk on it after the game, saying, I need some targets in the beginning of the blanking game. 2 blanks, blanking crazy. I'll let you guys
it's a lot of blanks,
fill in the blanks yourselves there. I want to ask you, though, Matt, how do you handle having a guy who maybe hasn't been productive, a number 1 type of wide receiver who maybe isn't getting the production he wants? How would you handle that in the locker room and in the game plan going forward?
Listen, man, I played with Calvin. Right from the start, drafted to Atlanta, comes in. He's an incredible talent, and I love him. I do, and this is part of it, right? Guys get frustrated when they don't get the ball, and Calvin's an emotional guy, and that's good. That's okay. That's part of the deal is when you're a competitor, you want to go out there and you want to be productive. And so, I look at it and I think you've got to play to guys' strengths, right? When you bring someone in that's different, right? There's this acclimation period where you've got to find out what they can do. And from my experience of playing with Calvin, it's pushing the ball down the field vertically, right? It's everything coming off of this speed to power and this suddenness he has at the top. And I haven't seen a lot of that. Going through, what they did yesterday and watching that game, there's a lot of quick game, right? There's a lot of short passing that they're trying to get the ball out of their hand. To me, they're using them in the run game in a way that, we just didn't do it in Atlanta, right? They're asking them to cross sift and go block, try and, clean up the backside on DN. There's a 3rd and 1 where they're asking him to insert on duo to block force. And he's willing, but that's not his strength, right? Like he's not a bigger kind of physical guy. And so when I look at it, I think it's a frustration, number one, of, he feels like he has this skill set to explode and go. And then they haven't really been using him that way. And then there's also this frustration of, we're just not getting the ball. And I think some of that has to do with Will Levis. I think he has struggled, throughout the year. When I look at them yesterday, his first touch of the game was a reverse, right? So his only touch basically of the game was getting handed the football. They had an opportunity. He has a go route where they're running 4 verts. He's got press man. He beats it. He stacks the defender, stacks the corner. And to me, Will Levis, there's edge pressure on the right, but he kind of gets stuck at the top of his drop with like a 2-foot jump stop and then kind of overreacts and climbs too far in the pocket and gets hit and the ball goes up and kind of should have been picked. It wasn't picked, but there's this frustration in guys' minds that happen. And so for me as a quarterback, what I would do in those situations is go back and say, hey, listen, here's the progression. Here's what we're being taught. Here's what we're trying to do. This is why I wasn't on your side right here. Let's take a look at the protection. You got to understand that there's 10 other guys that have to execute their assignment in order for you to be successful. And then let's also talk about, what do you feel like you need to do to get involved in the passing game? And how does that fit into what we're doing as a scheme? And so that's the way I'd approach it. There's going to be frustration. You're 1-5, right? There's going to be these kind of conversations that happen. You can't shy away from them. And that would be my advice to Will is you have to go in there and you have to attack them.
I love what you said about Calvin Ridley being asked to do things that he's not necessarily super comfortable with. And this is something we see in the league now, plug and play. Well, it might not be their specialty. I remember when I was playing offensive guard, I wanted to run the backside of inside zone till the cows come home. I loved a good B block, double team. That was my wheelhouse. I had different coordinators and offensive line coaches throughout the course of my career. Some asked me to pull on power. I hated pulling on power. I wanted to be the point man. I wanted to be the first guy through the door at the double team. I can relate to Calvin Ridley being frustrated with the way that they're using him, but at the end of the day, it's a team game, to your point. 10 other guys have to do their job. Calvin has to do his. I loved what you said about his emotions. It's what you want in a football player. You want a guy that's emotional, that cares. There's 2 types of guys that care and guys that check out. Calvin Ridley, in my opinion, isn't a guy that's going to check out. They need to find a way to cash in with Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, to me, Brian Callahan's got to go back to the drawing board. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, they ain't walking through that door. The vertical tree stuff on the outside, that's not the personnel they have to run right now. Calvin Ridley is not the silo route sort of guy. He's a guy that runs a mean blaze out, runs a mean post corner post. Like he needs that option at the second level, and he's going through a safety or a corner. He's not a guy one-on-one just going to run right past consistently, and they're trying to use him like that. So I do agree. This Tennessee Titans offense, they need to go find some answers elsewhere. All right, we're going to get to the moment everyone came here to see, your quarterback of the week, right after this. After a week away, we got Matt Ryan back to break down the best quarterback performance of the week. So drum roll, Matt, who we got this week for your quarterback performance of the week?
Give me Lamar. Give me Lamar. He was awesome yesterday. And, I think starting out has the interception early. And then after that, to me, he was as good as it gets. And it's his ability to beat you with his legs, I think we all know about that. To make plays, even throwing the ball down the field with his legs was awesome. But delivering from the pocket yesterday was as good as I've seen from him. And the timing, the anticipation, and just the delivery of the football. I think the growth of him as a player in the last, he's a two-time MVP, and I think he's playing the best football of his career right now. And so I was really impressed with him yesterday. I think that game had a lot of weight to it too. I think with both those teams being so close to each other and the way that they've started and going against Jaden Daniels and kind of all of that comes along with it. I look at his performance yesterday and I was just impressed. The completions, 20 of 26, and just the passing yards, right? Getting so many chunk plays that they're getting in the passing game is impressive to me. Just the one touchdown, one interception. But, I think just the weight of that game and what he's doing right now, I was really impressed watching that one yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, two of those scoring drives, 93 yards, 94 yards. This is just how the Ravens are going to get things done. They've got all these weapons on offense, and it's got to be such an awful position to be. I can't imagine anybody I'd rather less be than the second level of a defense playing against the Baltimore Ravens. You got tight ends running all over. You got Zay Flowers slapping you in the butt when he runs by at 800 miles an hour. You got Derrick Henry, who's an actual Mack truck coming downhill at you. How much easier do you think it is for Lamar Jackson, being that they have all the right pieces right now in Baltimore?
I think it's huge. And the addition of Derrick Henry and kind of that building of him and incorporating him into the offense as the season has started. You watch when they go play action and you watch over the middle of that football field. And there are gaps, there are spaces. He is throwing with timing and anticipation. It looks to me to be really, really difficult to defend. I think Todd Monken has done a great job of kind of taking a look at all of the pieces that we have. How does it all work together through the eyes of Lamar Jackson? And I give him a lot of credit for kind of getting that done. But at the end of the day, you got to pull the trigger as the quarterback. And I think I'm seeing a guy that is as decisive as he's ever been in his career, and certainly that was at the forefront yesterday.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I've seen with Lamar this year is just how he's operating under pressure in the pocket. He's not taking negative plays or making negative plays when pressure comes or when those pockets get tight. And you really saw in this game on the other side of the ball too with Jaden Daniels, how these like high-end mobile quarterbacks, not just the guys who have a little bit of mobility who can sneak out of a pocket, the guys who, if you have them outside the pocket and you're not accounting for them, it's a massive, massive play, as we saw him have a big chunk play on the ground himself this past weekend. So I think you're just seeing when you have as much talent as the Ravens do now offensively, and the offensive line playing a lot better from week one till now, they just have an answer for everything. Lamar, it doesn't matter. He's going to find an answer for something. So I'm not sure there's an offense I want to face less right now in the Baltimore Ravens. And he's my MVP through 6 weeks. Matt, is he your MVP through 6 weeks? Would you put him at that pedestal right now?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I mean, to me, who is harder to defend, and who is giving defensive coordinators more sleepless nights during the week to prepare for than him? I don't think there's anybody. I really think he's going to be a 10,000-yard rusher in this league when it's all said and done. And I think he's going to have 50,000 plus passing yards, which is insane. It's crazy.
It's like doing a Madden My Player and playing for 13 years and just compiling all these stats for a decade plus. I mean, that's Lamar's numbers, really.
That is something I actually never thought about, is that, most running backs, 12 years or so, they're going to be in the league. He could be in the league legitimately 20 years.
If he keeps throwing the ball better and better and being able to process, and like you said, Matt, he's in rhythm, he's on time, he's staying in the pocket. He's not quite taking hits, but he is around a lot of hits in the pocket, but the ball just seems to come out on time. Lamar looks so confident as a passer. And to your point, he could play forever. I mean, this guy is a superhero out there on the NFL field.
Yeah, and I think him becoming better and better inside the pocket, right, is only going to help him be a more sustainable runner moving forward, right? Because it's going to be less design run. It's going to be running versus premier looks. And if you get him into the open field in space, to me, that's where he's at his best. And, then you have that option at the end of the game where you've got 3rd and 1 to put him on the edge, let him run and take a little bit of contact on the sideline. You don't feel as bad about it, right? Because you're not at designed run number 8 or 9 in the game. And so I think his ability to grow from throwing inside the pocket, both inside the numbers and outside the numbers, has been the most impressive part of his game this year.
All right, so we had you a little longer this week. We wanted to get into some honorable mentions. Who is an honorable mention quarterback performance of the week for you?
I mean, I got to go Jared Goff. I feel like quietly, and I don't know how it stays quiet, but like he just doesn't get put up there in the same way as other people. And he had a perfect game a couple of weeks ago, where no incompletions. I think, his performance against the Dallas Cowboys, yesterday, and just kind of a dismantling of that Cowboys defense. He looks as comfortable, as confident. He's always been an incredible play action passer. They're using him in creative ways. I think Ben Johnson, another guy who deserves a ton of credit. But you look at those passer ratings, right? Week 4 versus Seattle, 155.8. Yesterday, 153.8. Like those are basically perfect. I don't know how that passer rating number actually comes together, but they're essentially perfect ratings. And so I just think the explosiveness, the distribution of the football too, getting so many different guys involved, his accuracy down the field, his accuracy in the intermediate passing game was on point yesterday. And I think he's kind of the perfect fit for what Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson want to do.
Yeah, Ben Johnson looks like a genius out there with Jared Goff at quarterback, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs. We saw Sam Laporta in there yesterday. It's almost like this Lions team can do whatever it is they want to do offensively. It's been a lot of fun to watch the Lions this year, and that's why me and Mike are going to be ranking our NFC rankings pretty soon. But Ben Johnson's got a lot to do with those rankings. That's called a teaser, folks. I'm excited for that segment.
They remind me a little bit, though, of the Ravens in terms of just – you have an offensive coordinator at the peak of his powers, right? Like you have Ravens have Todd Monken, Lions have Ben Johnson with a bevy of weapons at their disposal now with this Detroit Lions team with the emergence of Jamison Williams, who just cooked Trayvon Diggs one-on-one for that touchdown yesterday. Just a guy whose speed has to be accounted for every single time.
The release from the top, the point of that bunch, kind of dip inside and then stack and get on top was unbelievable.
And then you have, obviously, everyone knows about Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, but then David Montgomery just will not be tackled.
Animal.
So you can really go any which way. And you can also pitch it to Penei Sewell out in the flat if you want to, and he looks like
freak show,
a better runner of the football than a lot of teams are throwing out there. So it's just when you have that combination of just so many different options at your disposal and a creative offensive coordinator, I don't know how you stop either this Lions or this Ravens offense at this point. To me, they are the scariest two teams in their respective divisions. Maybe a hot take.
It might be a hot take, but the thing I like about it is when you get into December and January, you might have to win games different ways, right? And being comfortable winning it, no matter how you have to do it, is a key. And I think you mentioned both those teams. Seems like if you want to get into a fist fight and run the ball 45 times, both teams are comfortable doing that. If you want to drop back and sling it 45 times, both teams are comfortable doing that and are explosive both ways.
All right, Matt, thanks so much for all the insight.
Thanks,
as
Matt.
He joins us every single Monday. And as Kyle alluded to, we're going to be ranking the top of the NFC right after this. We are talking NFC. Who right now, because it's looking crowded at the top at this point in time, who are the best teams?
They're smushed up in there.
We're not doing power rankings. We're doing legitimate, who are you the most afraid of in the playoffs if you have to play on their turf come January? Rank your top 7 right now.
Starting with the Detroit Lions, do it all, gritty, tough, run the football, throw the football with efficiency. Then we go to the Minnesota Vikings at number 2. They're 5-0. We got to give them their credit. I'm not going to bring them down to 3, 4. I'm not going to get crazy here. The Vikings are undefeated, but what I saw from the Lions yesterday and what I've seen from Jared Goff and this team, I'm going to put them at the top. You ask me who I'm afraid of? I'm losing sleep over the Lions. The Gallagher doesn't scare me as much as Detroit. Number 3, the San Francisco 49ers. Kyle Shanahan's willingness to run the football, this offensive line's ability to take over football games. I think it's great for the Niners. It bodes well for the football season as we move towards the playoffs. Number 4, Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love, extremely rich quarterback. He was banged up early. They found a way to get back in this thing. Keep him at number 4. And, I said they're all jammed up in here. I'm going to get fought on a lot of this stuff for sure. I got the Commanders at number 5. Jaden Daniels gives this team a chance each and every week. He is so much fun to watch. It's been such a treat to watch these rookie quarterbacks. And speaking of rookie quarterbacks, this guy Caleb Williams on the Chicago Bears, well, he's pretty good. But it's the defense that has them at the top of this list here at number 6. Being on the list here at number 6. They're a complete football team. They've shown us that they can run the football a little bit. Caleb's did a good job distributing. They've got guys making plays all over the field for the Bears. And then I've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers rounding it out at number 7. Another team that proved that they can run the football, put up a 50-burger yesterday. Going to be fun to see how this thing plays out, but that's how I got it. The real questions lie in the top 3, top 4 of that NFC list with Detroit, Minnesota, San Francisco. A lot to look at.
Couple interesting notes I want to talk about before we get to my list. One, no NFC East, top of the NFC East that we've known for the past few years.
Yep.
No Cowboys, no Eagles, who have been double-digit winners, I think 3 straight years, both of them.
Mainstays on this list.
Neither in the top 7 for you right now.
Yeah. I don't think that's a debate. You don't get grandfathered into these power ranking lists, okay? Unless you're the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to give you number 1 spot every week. But look, you got to earn it. These teams have earned it. They've played well. They've shown multiple different ways to win football games, gritty groups of teams. And that NFC North, man, just stacked.
It is. And then the other one, Lions not worried about how they'll look without Aiden Hutchinson, because in the third quarter, gruesome leg injury, out for the season, broken tibia. So the reports are that he should be good to go next year, that it's not like a worried about long-term complications via this injury. Are you worried about them atop the division with how productive he's been this year? Because he has been the most productive pass rusher in the NFL through 6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, he's been amazing. And a couple of weeks ago, I talked about him being, a he-man. And you pointed out some of the guys he was playing against weren't the best. But then he continued to just streak it out. He just kept going and going and going. He is the epitome of what the Lions want in their football team. I think they can look to him as for inspiration, even though he's not on the field with them. A lot of guys are going to be doing it for Aiden Hutchinson on the defensive side of the ball, and maybe even the offensive side of the ball. They can draw inspiration from Aiden. But I think Coach Glenn will have to do a really good job creatively manufacturing pressure from the second level of the defense, maybe look to get some blitzers from the external pressures, guys from out over the slot. Try to make these quarterbacks feel just as uncomfortable as they were when they were thinking about Aiden Hutchinson rushing the passer.
Yeah, I'm not too worried myself, and I was more just playing devil's advocate, because when we take a look at my list here, I also have the Lions at number 1. And
would you look at that?
Of what you just said there. Just because of what I touched on in the last segment in terms of this offense just has so many answers.
Yep.
They don't need Jared Goff to play perfect football. And when he does, it's scary. They just have a lot going for them with Ben Johnson as the OC. So that's like the offense I'm probably most afraid of in the NFC right now. The Commanders, close second at the moment, but I just think the Lions you have to prepare for so much.
They are a juggernaut at the line of scrimmage.
And on the defense side of the ball, I think they have answers on the back end. Their secondary is so much improved. Carlton Davis has been such a massive addition for them. Now, he may be out a few weeks.
Let's hope he's back.
Concussion, right?
Got kicked in the head without a helmet on.
Equally awfully unlucky injury, but shouldn't be out as long. But from there, we have the same top 5. Lions, Vikings, 49ers, Packers, Commanders. I kind of hate it that we did, because we didn't talk about this at all beforehand. But my biggest debates were, do I go NFC North 1, 2, 3? I think this Packers team now that I saw this past week just housing the Arizona Cardinals, especially on the defensive side of the ball, where they look like they have some real answers with this kind of new look secondary, this new look back end that now should feature 3 rookie starters going forward, with Javon Bullard in the slot, Evan Williams at safety, and Edgerrin Cooper at linebacker. All 3 playing at a really, really high level for rookies and making an impact week in and week out. If that continues, this Packers team's scary, because on offense, they are up there. They may not have the quite high-end talent that a team like the Lions do or the Ravens do, but they have a similar sort of
They got guys everywhere.
that they do in terms of they have guys everywhere. And this running game and this offensive line has been playing fantastic. So the only thing is I have the Bears at 7, Bucks at 6. I do think these top 6 teams, I don't want to say it's a coin flip, but I can very easily see all 6 being the representative when it's all said and done. It's not, there's no big tiers here in this top 7 list. Really, the tiers to me are 2 of these teams are starting rookies. It's just going to be difficult once you get to the playoff and a rookie is on that sort of stage to
Well, it's also hard
show
to
up.
extrapolate with the body of work we've had from these 2 rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Jaden's been awesome. Caleb's getting better every week, and he's reached into a higher level for his game. It's hard to extrapolate down into
far
week
away.
18, you know, seeing what this team's going to look like going into the playoffs. But I like our list, man. It's a powerful list. There's going to be some Falcons fans that are pissed at us. But at the end of the day, we don't care. We don't care.
Falcons, I'd probably lean Eagles before I even went Falcons.
I don't agree with you there.
You know, I think the Eagles just have more talent. They're just really underplaying it at the moment. Whereas the Falcons, I just worry about that offense.
I sold the Eagles yesterday when Sirianni acted like his child's age.
Yeah, they're not helping themselves out from a coaching standpoint. That's for darn sure. All right, we're going to do a little overreaction versus reality. The game we do every single week on this Monday show. 6 weeks into the season. Are we overreacting or is it reality? Up next. It's not quite overreaction season. We've kind of passed that point in the NFL schedule where what we've seen on the field is what it really is. But we may be overreacting to what we saw this past week. So, overreaction or reality, we will have, after Robert Saleh broke the seal on the head coaching firings, we'll have another head coaching firing in October. A little October surprise for you.
I don't think any of the guys that you would imagine when asked this question are going to get fired before the end of the season. I think that they all should be fired, in my opinion. But and when I say they, I'm talking about Stefanski, I'm talking about Peterson, I'm talking about McCarthy, and I'm talking about my paisan up in Philadelphia, Nick Sirianni. I think they all need the boot. And I mean, Stefanski's not even pulling the strings in Cleveland. So you can't convince me that he is the head guy there. There's another head guy in Cleveland. I think it is an overreaction to firing in October, but a reaction about what's going on with these teams.
If I'm Kevin Stefanski, I'm just resigning, dude.
Get out of there.
Why would you want what's going on there? Why do you want to be a part of that? Why do you want your name to be associated with the tragedy that is going on to the Cleveland Browns fan base? It's horrible. I cannot think like of a fan base that I feel worse for because they didn't ask for this. They didn't ask to have the amount of, and then like you draft your second round pick and he has domestic violence in the preseason. Like they have just so many character concerns throughout this roster of guys that just, you got to root for them now. Nah, I don't want to. If I'm a Browns fan,
Browns fans should take a hiatus.
Yeah.
They should just go watch the Columbus Jackets. Is that the closest team to the Columbus Jackets? That's a hockey team,
Jackets,
right?
Yeah.
Go watch some hockey, man.
They got a basketball team there in Cleveland.
Put your emotions on ice. I don't think the Cavaliers are any good, though, right?
I will say this. It would not surprise me if we saw Peterson go, if they just keep.
Yeah, that's the one where it could be.
And the
like
other
right
one
now.
I could find interesting, I know Jerry probably doesn't want to, but the Cowboys have a penchant for getting their ass kicked. If they just keep getting blown out, because that's the second time this year, almost third time, and almost happened against the Ravens too, but they just got their butt kicked against Saints. If they just get on the ropes and lose by like 30 again, it's kind of like Brandon Staley last year. I don't think they wanted to fire him, but everyone quit. When everyone quits on you, then I think it's time.
You got to get new blood.
So I do agree that I think the one coach I could see surviving this, I mean, Stefanski could survive it.
Yes.
Definitely should survive it. Just, does he want to survive it?
It ain't his fault. The other guys, I have questions.
Sirianni, I could see surviving just because it built up sweat equity there. They still could make their way to the playoffs because this is a really good roster. But man, he ain't doing himself any favors on a week in, week out basis.
Yeah, you got to understand. You got to understand your fan base, and there's certain guys you can bark at, and there's certain people you can't bark at. And your home fans, after a win to the Browns in a close game, is not exactly where you want to do that.
All right, overreaction or reality. Either the Packers or the Bears will overtake the Vikings to win the NFC North. I did notice there's one team also precariously left off.
It's a strange omission here.
But the Vikings are top dog. So that's the Packers and the Bears. Your third and fourth place tied for third place teams there in the NFC North.
You know what? I think if there's a team primed to take that next step, it is the Packers right now. Obviously, Jordan Love is getting better and better. He is a great quarterback. I'm not going to sit here as a Bears homer and not give flowers to the Green Bay Packers, but I also could totally see the Chicago Bears. And that's the thing about this division. I could see any of these teams on any given Sunday having an awesome football game. And there's a lot of good ball going on in the NFC North. I think it would be tough, but you have Vikings written here. It's the Lions I'm concerned with. The Lions can make you look human.
I think it's a reality. I think the Packers take the North. I do. I think they're back healthy, and the defense looks, shall we say, the best defense since 2015.
17 turnovers in 6 weeks. I mean, there's so many different ways that these teams are getting it done in the NFC North.
They finally have playmakers. Turnovers, a lot of people preach turnovers. You got to have dudes that can create them.
Yep.
And they finally have guys that can create them. All right, last one. Quick here. Justin Fields has earned the right to start the remainder of the season for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Overreaction, reality?
Reality, I would change the word earn to the Steelers' situation roster-wise has led to Justin Fields having the right to start the remainder of the season. And there's just things that Russell Wilson can't do that Justin Fields can do. We've all seen it as Bears fans, as Steelers fans this year. There have been a handful of plays in these games where he just makes it happen physically. Mike Tomlin gushes about this guy's X-factor ability with his legs. They love it. The guy's a horse. He walks by you and you're like, damn, that's a thoroughbred right there. Justin Fields makes things happen for the Steelers, but TJ Watt, two forced fumbles. That guy keeps you in ball games.
There is no untapped passing game in this Pittsburgh Steelers offense. It doesn't exist. When you got the receivers, they do, and the offensive line, they do. It's going to have to be a ground game. And right now, Justin Fields gives you far and away the best ground game. 59 rushes, 11 carries, 2 touchdowns this past week. Yeah, that's a reality. Justin Fields should be.
When you're in a bind, he's the guy that gets you out of it. But you don't have any other options.
That's overreaction versus reality. We'll be back with our favorite moments of the weekend right after this. Week 6, almost in the books. We got Bills traveling to the Jets later tonight, but I want to talk favorite moment of the weekend. What was yours?
Favorite moment of the weekend, it was just Ben Johnson and the Detroit Lions showing off a little bit, pouring it on, like going against your crosstown high school rival. We saw them score, wait, score again, and different ways of scoring, different ways to try to show off. We saw the hook and lateral. We saw Taylor Decker on the left side getting a throw, but it was the hook and lateral that was my favorite. Penei Sewell getting the football, Dan Skipper doing his damnedest to get out in front. He doesn't end up making the block for him, but Penei reaches for the pylon. I love to see that. Give those big guys an opportunity to showcase their athleticism. Let your freak flag fly, Penei.
That was just nasty work, what they did to those Dallas Cowboys. My favorite moment, though, just seeing these rookie quarterbacks, man. We went through this lull of just all the old guard kind of leaving town, whether it was Brady, Roethlisberger, Breeze, just all retiring, Matt Ryan, all going through, all gone. And then from 2021 to last year, we had Trevor, we had C.J. Stroud. That's it. And now this year, this rookie class, every single guy that's played so far, we got to see Drake May this year. We got to see Spencer Rattler. We got to see Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams. Signs that are very encouraging. None of these guys at this point look like the game is too big for them, and that's really all you care about when you see a rookie quarterback. So seeing that, the influx of talent, we needed this as NFL fans.
The future is now, old man.
Future is
as the kids say.
And the future for us is 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, throughout the week on Pushing the Pile.
Power rankings tomorrow.
Power rankings tomorrow with Pete Briscoe. Go and check it out. Till next time, keep pushing.
Peace.